There's a very strange breaking story about how General David Petraeus has basically collapsed during a Senate Armed Services Committee hearing today while discussing the war in Afghanistan. So that's an interesting breaking story that will certainly be posted up on prisonplanet.com. We were talking about Afghanistan before the break and the discovery of these you know, the discovery, as if it didn't happen 4 decades ago, which it did, of these vast mineral deposits of gold, lithium, iron, copper, and others, and how this supposedly, you know, now represents a justification for maintaining the occupation of the country. Of course, it's a complete scam. It's pro-war public relations stunt, because we knew that Afghanistan contained these minerals as much as 4 decades ago. So the fact that they're now bringing it out in the midst of all this failure surrounding the surge, the potential pullout of UK troops, polls showing massive opposition, greater than ever, to the Afghanistan war, pretty much tells you why they're doing it and why it came out of the New York Times. It's a PR stunt designed to try and rally Americans around supporting the idea that the troops under Obama, the anti-war candidate, who now has more troops deployed than George W. Bush ever did, should keep them in Afghanistan for another decade and beyond. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the BP oil spill, which is what people in the Prison Planet forum certainly want to know about. They want to hear from people in the area. So we're going to go to calls now, and the first caller is Joe in Wisconsin. Joe, you're on the air.
Hi, Paul. I wanted to talk about checks and balances, and this North Carolina guy fits right in with that. Any government big enough to give you anything you want is big enough to take it away, and our 1776 government said we had inalienable rights based on something bigger than they were. And what if our government gave us our rights? Well, secular government isn't quite benign. It just needs something, a bigger force than it is, that gives you your rights so that they can't take it away. It's also why we here in America have a Second Amendment. It just needs something to hold it in check.
Well, that's right. And I mean, the attacks on the Second Amendment and the fact that rights are inalienable, you know, God-given, is apparent on a daily basis. And we have the growth of this statist mindset with a welfare state, especially in Europe, whereby government affords people their rights and they're not natural rights. And that's obviously, as you mentioned, purely so that government can then take away those rights at a later stage, which is why now with the growth of global governance, they're trying to make us acquiesce under this UN charter, which the UN affords us those rights, and the UN can take them away when every man is born free and rights are God-given, as is outlined not only in the Constitution, but what it originated from, which was the Magna Carta in England. So you're exactly right. And we'll go to the next caller, which is Marcus in Iowa. Marcus, you're on the air.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I'm a little nervous. Today at 10:37 a.m. Central Time in Pensacola, Florida, I was watching Obama give his speech on the oil spill. He said that it was a exercise that went bad, more or less, a training exercise. Alex Jones also proved that 9/11 was, and so is 7705. It's at 10:37 a.m. YouTube it, do whatever, find it.
So you're saying that Obama said that the accident was caused as a result of a training exercise, presumably based around how they would react to an oil spill, and you're saying that this was an exercise that, quote, went wrong. Is that what Obama's claiming now?
That's exactly what he said. If you want me to do it word for word, I have it paused and recorded.
Well,
I know you are on a tight schedule.
If you email that clip to me at watson@prisonplanet.com, email it to me, and we will play it after the next break. We'll definitely check it out.
I do not know if it's on YouTube. I have it saved to my DVR on my TV.
Okay, well, I'll do a quick Google search and we'll definitely delve into it after the break, if that's accurate, which if it is, then is a massive story. We know Tony Hayward, the BP oil chief, sold his stock in BP immediately before the disaster. Goldman Sachs, which is now headed by Peter Sutherland, who was a former CEO of BP, dumped millions of dollars worth of stock before the accident. There were these unusual alterations to the hydraulic equipment that occurred right before the accident happened. So we had all these indicators of at least foreknowledge, and if now that they were running exercises based around the premise of an oil spill right before this happened, then that is a massive smoking gun, because of course, as we saw with 9/11 and 7/7, the London bombings, the simulation and exercise surrounding real-world events gives them culpable deniability for if any evidence occurs which points to sabotage. So that would be a massive story, and we'll definitely check into that just after the next break. We're going to go to Mark in Florida. Mark, you are on the air.
Yeah, I was watching CNN this morning, and there were signs of businesses on the coast, and it was saying, Mr. President, waive the Jones Act and implement FEMA. Now, I'm obviously familiar with FEMA. I was just wondering if you knew what are they talking about by waiving the Jones Act?
The Jones Act, I'm not sure. I haven't heard about that one. There's a story here out of the Miami Herald. Florida Republicans ask Obama to waive Jones Act, and that's being reported by the Associated Press. U.S. Senator George Lemieux and U.S. Representative Jeff Miller want President Barack Obama to waive a law they say is keeping foreign oil skimmers out of the Gulf of Mexico. The Florida Republicans sent a letter to Obama on Monday and plan to discuss the issue with him Tuesday during the president's visit to Pensacola. And the Jones Act, according to this article, bars foreign ships from carrying cargo and passengers between foreign ports. So basically it's another method of trying to keep people out of the area, I presume. Now, we know that they're keeping the media out of the area, and that's very suspicious to say the least. So, yeah, it shows that they're very keen to keep foreigners out of the area, and the US media as well. We're going to go to Gary in Grand Isle in New Orleans. Gary, you're on the air. What's on your mind today?
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to kind of give everyone a live report of what's going on in Grand Isle. Last week I was here, and there was much more activity going on as far as the local people were concerned. But now I've come back a week later, and it's basically a deserted island where there's only camouflage-colored trucks. There's Homeland Security trucks, you know, like regular white pickups all over. Seems to be all global type corporations here. If you go on the beach, you're watched at all times, and you're not allowed to get close to the boom, and people will just come approach you. And there's just basically security up and down the beach, and there's four-wheelers. Just every few minutes one will go by, and then you'll see some sort of strange-looking military truck go by, and it seems like a lot of activity, but not that much cleanup, because the only people cleaning up seems to be people from Jamaica and the Philippines, and they just kind of walk along with these little bitty bags, and they'll take a tiny shovel, scoop it up, and the president of Clackamas Parish, Billy Nungasser, said that the locals are actually going out and getting their own shop bags and just going out and cleaning it up themselves, where they're just using 5-gallon buckets. And there's just one other thing I wanted to comment on. I'd like for you to explain to me what I heard. I was listening to CNN, and the House of Commons actually stated that they needed to make sure that the cleanup remained global. And can you explain to me what that means?
I think basically what that means, I mean, as you just mentioned, you've got a federal takeover. In my mind, from everything I've seen, and this is backed up by locals who live in the affected areas, the cleanup crews, the local cleanup authorities, are not being allowed to do their jobs. And this is an exact replica of what happened after Hurricane Katrina, where the local authorities were trying to fix the problem, but the feds, FEMA especially, as you just mentioned, were actually sabotaging the attempt to, you know, clean up the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and get things back online. And this is a thing that's common throughout eyewitness reports in the area, that the federal takeover is basically nothing more than a police or a law enforcement response on the federal level. It's not even an intent to fix the problem or to clean up the oil from the beaches. It's just about keeping people out of the area and preventing local authorities who could be doing their job in cleaning up what they can from having any successful or positive impact on the drastic situation that has affected the area.